Welcome to the Cove. I'm your host, Corey.
And I'm your host, Nicole, and we have a extra special episode today. We are going to speak to Pastor Mickey, who we've been name dropping for the past 4 episodes,
Yes.
and we're so excited to have you join us.
I just want to know how. Well, what do you mean name dropping?
Oh,
It's been good.
Yeah, we've talked a little bit
You know, all
about
those
Should I be concerned?
You know all those views we've been getting? Pastor Mickey.
Pastor Mickey's
Mickey
on
Ross. He's on
It
the
helps.
line. But last week we kind of hinted around what we're going to talk about today. And the topic for this episode is Jesus meeting us where we are. And I do know, sitting under, your teaching for many moons and knowing Corey,
Yeah.
both of y'all's testimony is pretty powerful. And I would love for the viewers to hear it firsthand because we do, speak bits and pieces of it throughout our podcast. And
I never really what happened, or how we got there, or where we were when we met him.
in the state that we were in.
In the state we were in.
But it's great because kind of prepping for this today, it reminded me of 3 examples in the Bible where Jesus met 3 particular people. One, the woman at the well in John 4, right? She came with a whole luggage full of problems. If you know her story, it's pretty intense. And then Zacchaeus was, his neighbors did not like him. Number one, he was short, and Corey can relate, to that
Little
side.
man.
The wee little
Wee
man.
little man, right? But he was known to steal money. And the worst part is he was a chief tax collector. So that doesn't go over well.
No, people didn't like him already.
No, not at all. And then the third person, Thomas, doubting Thomas, he walked with Jesus and he's like, I'm not going to believe this until I see it firsthand. The nail scarred hands,
Show me proof.
proof.
Where's your receipts?
But Jesus met them
Yeah.
where they were and their past, right? One that jumps out is Zacchaeus. He's like, come down from that tree. I'm going to go to your house. And I'm sure the neighbors were like, you better hide your Jerusalem cruisers because Zacchaeus might take those and hawk them or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think you would have to hawk him. He's a chief tax collector.
Yeah.
But,
So
I love, exactly. So I love just those 3.
Yeah.
Those 3 examples in the Bible of Jesus, not going to somebody who was holier than thou's house. He's going to meet with these people that have a checkered past.
Yeah.
So with that, I'm going to tee it off and just ask, I'll ask you, Pastor, where were you?
where was I when I met Jesus?
Yeah.
In order to understand that, I probably should go back to the beginning to tell you how I got to where I was when I met Jesus.
Is this AD or BC?
BC.
BC, I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Did they have color TV back then?
They didn't even, He chiseled his
Chiseled.
testimony. Go ahead.
Moses did that on the first iPad.
He did.
Tablet.
Tablet
And then Abraham came down.
Then
Because
Abraham
last
came
week
Then Abraham came down.
Abraham
Right.
came down.
Abraham came down.
Y'all-
Broke those
He
tablets.
did.
Y'all, last week I spoke about, or we are talking, and he's like, Moses went up and God downloaded to him, and the 10 Commandments, and then Abraham came down and started yelling at Aaron. I mixed my word. So my apologies.
Yes.
I was wrong, and that's
We got
very seldom.
subtitled.
We did get subtitles.
All
Sorry
right,
for
Mickey.
interrupting.
Yeah.
Let me tell you how I got to where I was when I met Jesus. I grew up in the church, was made to come. If I wanted to eat breakfast in the morning, I had to read 3 Bible scriptures
Oh, wow.
in order to get breakfast. But then as I got older, I began to have questions. I asked questions and people gave the answer.
Mhm.
Son, you shouldn't ask those things.
Yeah.
You just got to take some things at face value. You shouldn't ask those. That didn't set well with me.
Mm-mm.
Either you're going to tell me and answer my question, or just be man enough to tell me you don't know the answer.
Yeah.
And that would have been better. But they didn't. So what that did, when I turned old enough, I left the church. I'd had enough of it. Too many people couldn't answer. If you can't answer, then you're not really what you ought to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went down a road I shouldn't have gone down, strayed, a lot like this guy,
I learned to be a heathen from someone. I'm kidding.
From my example in the past, I'm going to tell you, I knew where every party was that was going on. Not only that, I knew where there was a satanic worship service going on and everything else, and would go. And I had a friend, his grandmother went to this church, matter of fact, back in the day. And he and I got in trouble. Matter of fact, the night I met Jesus, I was going to a party with him, and he was arrested.
Wow.
But his grandmother said, she was in a coma. He called me up and he said, "Hey, man, my grandma just died." And I said, "Dude, she was old as dirt."
I mean,
Yeah.
That's
the way we were.
Yeah,
that way.
I was that way.
And he said, "No, man, no, you don't understand." And I said, "What?" And he said, "She's been in a coma and the whole family was there to say goodbye. And she opened her eyes. And she sat up in the bed and she said, 'When can I go home?'"
Oh, wow.
And they ran and got this friend of mine ran and got the nurse, came in and said, "Hey, sweetheart, you can't go home. You're very sick." And she looked at that nurse and she said, "No, I mean home." And she raised her hands up and died.
Wow.
Wow.
And that worked on my head.
Did it? Just sat in there.
Do I have a home to go to? What's going to happen to me? It began to work on my head. And all this time was going on, my wife and I were dating. And 1 week before we were to be married, I dropped her off. She had a curfew. I dropped her off at her parents' house. And I was headed to meet a friend of mine at this party where he was arrested. And as I drove down the road, down Old Merrill Road right back here, and I got to a point and all of a sudden, inside of my car was kind of like these lights in this room.
Blinding.
And it blinding. Just filled the whole car up to the point that I had to pull off the side of the road. And when I pulled off the side of the road, I almost lost it. I couldn't understand. And then a voice spoke to me, and I got out of that car, walked around to the back bumper, and said, "I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to do this. But if that's you, Lord, then come and change me."
That's so good.
I got goosebumps.
And he did. Now, we can elaborate on a lot more stuff in the middle of it, but we probably don't need to do that.
Right.
But that night,
Yeah.
I got back in the car after experiencing God and accepting Him on the side of the road. And I want to tell whoever's listening out there, you don't need to walk down the aisle of a church. You don't need to do any of that. You can accept God wherever you're at,
100%.
whatever you're doing, whether you're mowing grass and eating a hamburger on the dadgum outside because you won't walk in the door.
Y'all got me with
That's
a
so true.
cheeseburger.
It's so true. Yeah.
And it doesn't matter.
No.
God will meet you wherever. He met Zacchaeus, you mentioned, to go in a tree.
Yep.
He met the woman at the well. Yep. He walked through the wall to Thomas. So that night I went home, walked in the door of my house 1 week before we got married. And my dad got out of his chair and said, "What are you doing home?"
Because he knew how you were.
And the rest is history. From that day on, I spent time making it a point that if somebody asked a question, I was going to give them an answer.
Even if we deny it.
Doesn't matter. I'm going to give you the answer. We're going to find it. And if I don't know the answer, I'm going to tell you, we're going to sit down, we're going to find it together.
We call that parking lot. I'm going to write it down and I'm going to come right back to you.
I'm going to come right back to you. And the rest is history. We got married. Linda was a good Christian girl going to church every week. From that point on, I started. And then God came in about 6 months later and filled me with His Holy Spirit to the point and called me into the ministry.
That's awesome.
And
I mean, it went from one extreme
to the other.
But the beautiful thing about this is, we talk about, Jesus meeting us where we are.
Where you are.
He was going to that party with you, whether you liked it or not.
Whether I liked it or not. It doesn't matter if I'd walked away from the church. He did walk away from me.
Nope,
No.
100%.
No.
That's one of my favorite stories that it's real life, right? It's one of my favorite things that you speak about because it's so impactful and it drives something home.
It does.
And but you were raised, like you said, you were raised in the church. You knew better. You knew better, but it was that rebellious side of you. Like, nobody's going to tell me, right? No. And you can't answer my question, so why?
Why am I bothering
100%,
with you?
Yeah.
And strange thing about the whole thing was probably 2 weeks before he entered my car on the side of the road. It's a Sunday morning, and I know dawn patrol is the best time to hit the waves.
Surf in the morning.
Noah, my son, was sitting right next to me this past Sunday. And I looked down. Well, I looked down and I was like, he's sitting on a towel. And I touched the towel and it was like soaking wet.
Do y'all remember the text that said, "Hey mom, can y'all get me a towel coming back from surfing?"
I don't know how many times I have stood up to bring the word and had the salt water
drip.
Yeah. But I had gone surfing, surfed early. This thing with my friend's grandmother was weighing on my head, and I decided I was going to go to a church, and walked in late.
Normal.
Yeah, that's normal. That's normal.
Back when I had hair, it was down in about here, and dripping wet, surf shirt on.
Yeah.
Had on my
baggies
and my Jesus.
Yeah, your Jerusalem cruisers.
Walked in, and when I walked in, looked for a seat, didn't know where. I just walked down the middle aisle, went and sat down, and the pastor stopped his sermon, started pointing his finger at me and said, "You're going to hell." And I found a seat, sat down, and I stood up, and I said, "Well, I'll save you a seat on the bus."
Yeah.
Turned to walk out, and he called his deacons and ushers to stop me, which was a big mistake.
Yeah.
So we went crazy in that. But then 2 weeks later, I said, never going to church again. God said, "Okay, I'll meet you where you're at." That's exactly what he did.
That's very much
100%. Just because someone doesn't look like you sitting in a pew doesn't mean. I love, several times I'll, when I'm on stage leading worship, I'll mention something. Listen, you could come in here drunk. You can come in here, you just lit up right before you walk in the door, and you have a place.
So
you have a place right here.
I'll admit to that. When I first came to this church, I was a bad.
Tell them every time you did it, what happened. I drove by.
Every time I was smoking pot or weed, Mickey would drive by, and then I would try to. Then he would pull in, and I'd.
You can't. There's a smell.
But I also was that guy who didn't want to come to church, and I didn't believe in God, and I had a reason. I hated him, but when I did come here, I started with mowing the yard, and I'll make this brief. And I still wouldn't come in the door. I wouldn't go into the Ross Hall. I wouldn't go into the sanctuary, but I would talk to y'all outside. I just had no interest. There was nothing in there.
Our office.
I would come in. Well, you had coffee and candy.
That's true.
So
that's not church.
That's not church.
That's not church.
No,
that's a different building.
Church. It's a different building. But I wouldn't go in there. And then one day, Mickey offered me a cheeseburger, and I'm a fatty. I love food, and I actually came in for that cheeseburger that day, and I have a video of that, of me walking in. His son was recording it, and him handed me that cheeseburger. That was the first day I walked in here, and I still didn't know anyone, and I was still on this plan of I didn't want to live anymore, and I just was hurting, and there was a time where I was homeless, and I lived in the parking lot of this church. Sometimes I didn't tell nobody. I just came up here and slept in my truck, and
we knew.
We knew.
We have eyes
Everybody
everywhere.
knows, and it came to a part, and I'll make it brief, where I met God. I met Jesus. Was Mickey and Linda let me stay in their camper in Hannah Park. And I didn't have anywhere to go, but it was somewhere for me to kind of catch myself. But I was still on that path of I didn't want to be here anymore. There was nothing for me here because of how I felt or how people would make you feel, and you're always judged for how you feel. But, I stayed in there, and I was trying to work through my kinks, and there were days you guys would get text messages from me late at night, and I was struggling. 3 o'clock in the mornings, and I was struggling, but I was battling myself. And
but you battled it through joking. You battled it through that was your front.
My front was joking and laughing and trying to make
Trying
everyone
to cover it up.
cover it up, just so everyone think I was fine.
Yeah.
But I hid it well, and I
You
lied to
didn't.
myself.
You didn't.
I didn't. I thought
You
I
didn't.
did. I thought I did.
To the
You thought you
outside,
did.
I thought
the
I did.
outsiders
lied
knew.
well, but you didn't.
Yeah,
exactly.
no. But I reached that moment of I couldn't take it anymore. I was just hit with divorce papers.
Mhm,
My kids were taken from me
mhm.
for all means because I was not myself.
Yeah.
So the more I look back at that, I understand why it was done. But the night, September 30th,
Mhm.
that I decided
Mhm.
that I was done, I grabbed my surfboard, my longboard,
Out of
and-
my camper.
out of your camper that I was staying in, and I decided at 1 a.m. I was just gonna paddle out. So I took a bunch of Xanax pills and Adderall, which kind of not a purpose, and I smoked a lot of weed, and I decided to paddle. I was just gonna paddle out.
Yeah.
I was just not gonna come back, mostly because I was too afraid to take my own life, but I felt that was the easiest.
Mhm.
So I kept paddling out, and the rays were a little rough that day, but it wasn't bad. I'm a great surfer, or a good surfer. I can get out there, and but I couldn't get out that day. No matter how hard I paddled and tried and roll over to get the waves to go over me and try to get out, I could not get out that night. And it pissed me off.
Mhm.
I was so mad that I could not get past and do what I wanted.
Yeah.
So I gave up, and I went back and I had to go find my keys because I had threw my keys and hunt my keys, hunt my phone, get in the truck, and but if it wasn't for Mickey putting me in that camper and me being at that campground and doing what I did and God stepping in and letting me know that, I am enough, I am somebody. And
Mhm.
4 years later, here I am.
Here you are.
Here I am.
But you know what, Corey? That was your tree. That was your well. And that was your closed room where God came to meet you.
You met me. And I am beyond grateful for that.
So are we.
We are.
We're stuck here with you.
You're
now.
stuck. Y'all got me in the door with the cheeseburger.
Now he comes and eats everything.
Now he does.
I eat
And we're
everything.
stuck here, but
And you're stuck.
I mean that's just two powerful stories that we have. Everybody has a story to tell. Everybody
yeah.
is walking through something.
Yes.
Jesus is going to meet you
Meet you
there
there.
in your muck, your stank. It's
Yeah. We would love to hear people's stories too.
and it's
testimonies.
amazing. And I would just kind of want to say this before we end this episode. And I wrote it down. He, meaning God, he steps in, right?
Yeah.
And with the woman at the well, Zacchaeus, doubting Thomas, you, Corey.
Yeah.
He steps into y'all or their personal locations or physical locations.
Yeah.
Personal mess and emotional doubts with grace.
Amen.
Oh, man.
Yes, he
And
does.
it's so good. And I
Yeah.
know we spoke about a lot of things tonight. And we spoke about, suicide. And I want to encourage you, if you are struggling with those thoughts, there's a crisis hotline. I think it's 988 is the suicidal hotline.
Yeah.
If you belong to a church, call the
Call
pastor.
the pastor.
We are here. Like, listen,
They come and will
Yes.
surround you because
Yes.
they did for me. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
They will come at a drop of a dime to come to you.
And like your life is so precious.
It is.
And like the impact, like Corey, look at you. Like it could have ended and your story would have
I like to
floated away
say
in the
something
waves.
that says that I love to make memories.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a memory.
Yeah.
So that's something I got to.
Absolutely.
I love
be.
it. Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Pastor, for
Yeah,
taking
thank you,
time out of your
Pastor.
busy schedule. That fishing lifestyle.
Serving fishing pastor.
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing.
I love it.
So-
I love it. There'll be more of this. I appreciate you
Yeah.
coming and sharing and speaking your heart. I mean, it's
Yeah.
impactful to so many people.
And
I
to
know
show that even pastors weren't perfect.
they're,
You know?
They're not.
They're
They're
not.
people.
And if you think they
we're
are,
humans.
we're human.
We are
Yeah.
humans. So thank you guys
Yeah.
again for joining us. We will be back next week with
Yeah.
another exciting
Yes,
episode. And have a great week.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye.